Hola, amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human. This week, we are on location down in La Ecovilla at the house of my good brother, Stephen Brooks. Thank you, Stephen, for letting us use your lovely Casa. My guest this week is Andrew Seven Seeley. Andrew is a yoga instructor. He is a chocolate maker. He is a connection catalyst. He's a great brother. I'm very much looking forward to talking with him. It's going to be a great episode. We hope you enjoy. Andrew Seven Seeley.
Oh, what's happening?
Welcome to La Vida Verde Podcast.
Great to be here.
Wow, man. This is beautiful. This is just very coincidental that it all happened. We were just, Andrew happens to be in the zone, which you do occasionally come to our neighborhood to visit.
It's a great neighborhood to be part of. I mean, come on, every now and then got to stop by, say what's up, spread a little yoga.
It does. And because you were living somewhere up north, you were like, where were you before?
I was in Santana. Yeah, just outside of San Jose proper.
But now you're down in the south.
The hills of Portolón.
Portolón. Ooh,
you gotta come visit, man. Come on.
The hills of Portolón. I don't even know what that means. Where's the hills of Portolón?
It's north of Dominical, south of Manuel Antonio.
Oh.
So right over by Playa Linda.
Oh, wait a minute. I had that totally wrong. I thought you said it was near Panama.
No, I mean, that's where the farm is. That's where the cacao farm is.
You have a farm, but you're living... I see.
Yes.
So you have a cacao farm.
Yep.
Down by Panama.
Yep.
But you are living in the hills of Portolón.
See.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I got a 5-year lease, so I couldn't get out of it.
I remember that. I kind of remember this. So yeah, maybe come down.
Yeah, come visit, man. Seriously.
Okay, Andrew, tell us, what does the 7 stand for? Andrew Seven Seeley.
Yeah, so the 7 is the 7 chakras first. I love yoga. So when I think about those wheels, those vertices of energy that bring us to a deeper sense of awareness of our energetic field, the 7 is really that. And it's also the 7 notes, the 7 wonders of the world, the 7 seals of Solomon. My last name is Seeley.
Okay.
And I also have 7 letters in my middle name. So it just happened to be. Wow. 7's always been my favorite number as well. So it just kind of came to be, the thing that defined me as Andrew Seeley. And when I was on Instagram, actually, my little sister was the one who introduced me to Instagram, because she was like, you're going to college. Like, I still want to be able to keep in contact with you. And, you're starting this yoga thing. Like, you should get an Instagram. I was like, I don't know what an Instagram is. Like, I'm totally fine with Facebook, And she's like, no, like, you need an Instagram. And I went to look up the name Andrew Seeley, and someone had already taken it. And I was like, oh, let me just put a 7 right there, and it'll be Andrew Seven Seeley. And so
same name, same exact spelling and everything.
Yeah.
I found some. What was I was looking up your name, and I didn't have the spelling right at some point, and I was like, I don't remember what I came up with. It was not you though. There's a few Andrew Seeleys. Anyways, I'm glad to know we can find you as Andrew Seven Seeley.
It's me.
And you grew up in so you mentioned your sister. So you have a sister.
Yeah, I have 3 little sisters.
3 little sisters. Okay. And you grew up in a reggae store.
Yeah.
You told me this the other night.
Yeah.
What does it mean to grow up in a reggae store?
I mean, it means that you're deeply connected with music. I grew up, listening to Steel Pulse, Mystic Revealers, Israel Vibration, Toots and the Maytals, Bob Marley, Gregory Isaacs, Sizzla. I love Sizzla.
Oh yeah,
Crazy job.
I got into Sizzla for a while.
Oh my
Did
goodness.
he get canceled at one point? He did something weird.
I mean, everyone probably
all
got
get
canceled
canceled.
at one point.
We're gonna get canceled.
But Buju Banton.
Buju. And what about, who's the guy? Oh man, there's this. Oh, I'll have to think about it. There's this guy I really liked recently.
Protege?
No.
It'll
come to me.
Collie Buds?
No.
I know my reggae.
It's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, your father, it was your father's store.
Yeah, it was my dad's store.
And
both my parents are from Barbados.
Okay.
I grew up in between Barbados and La Jolla, San Diego. They had a store called Irie Nation. And all the records, all the old school CDs, even tapes.
Tapes?
Yeah, even
reggae tapes.
Yeah,
paraphernalia.
There was some paraphernalia.
Cannabis paraphernalia.
I grew up in a very cannabis-centric home.
You grew up in a head shop, ladies and gentlemen.
It wasn't a head shop.
No,
it was
just
a
kidding.
record store. Irie Nation Records.
And you grew up, like you said, you grew up going to like reggae festivals.
Yeah,
and it's so cool.
Reggae on the River. My mom was a backup singer for Rocky Daouni.
Rocky. Oh yeah, didn't he play at Envision a couple years ago? Oh, did you help bring him then?
Yeah,
course.
Rocky's a great friend of mine.
Nice.
He's a global sound ambassador.
Amazing.
That he's like basically like my godfather, because my mom was backup singing with him, and my stepdad actually was his engineer. My stepdad had a music studio in our backyard as I was growing up as well, so I literally was just infused with music from the time that I was a little kid.
That's so cool. So you grew up around music, good music too.
Yeah,
sounds like.
Yeah. Reggae music is my favorite. So.
And so then you started. How did you transition into yoga? Like, what was that? Because I mean, they kind of, in some way they go hand in hand, but in other ways they're kind of, they're two worlds that didn't used to always go together, and now they're starting to merge a little bit more. I think
actually really interesting, because if you think of like Rastafarianism, these men who had dreadlocks and women who have dreadlocks, and the rishis, which are the mystics from India, known to have been in the mountains of the Himalayas with long dreadlocks as well,
smoking their chillum.
Exactly, smoking their chillum. And so that culture, I feel, also came through the West Indies. Right? Even think of that. The West Indies, the spice trade from India, all throughout the Caribbean. Boom. There we go, right? Making those connections. And so I feel like, yoga was infused in me from the early days of listening to these Rastafarians praise Jah, the sun. They were oftentimes speaking of the sun and how the sun brings forth life. And so the Rastafarian culture and the yoga culture are very, very close. And so essentially I grew up, having dreads all the way down to my back up until I was 17. I got, a big old haircut, and then went to college and studied microbiology. Yeah. I was really into science. I've always been very into science and math from the time I was a little kid, and really into just, learning more about how the macrocosm is very much so related to the microcosm. Mm-hmm. And we think about, these big ideas about how our wonderful Earth circulates around the sun, and we've got all these wonderful planets, and it's really just the same concept on the smaller scale. If we look at, the proton and the neutron and how the electron circulates around that, it's literally micro and the macro. So
as above, so below.
Exactly.
As within, so without.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the Hermetic principles.
Yeah.
And so I got really deep into yoga through actually playing soccer. I played soccer when I was in university as well.
Where'd you go to school?
Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Cal Poly.
Yeah. Slow, man.
Hey.
You know that area?
I used to go, they had a really great avocado orchard.
Yeah.
And we used to sneak in there and harvest the hell out of those avocados.
Dude, I had a friend of mine, Jimmy. He's probably out there somewhere. But he had a avocado spot, avocados and navel oranges over in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, no, that area is really a good area for growing stuff.
Super gorgeous, great climate, and great people. I feel like the whole Central Coast, California, that's the hidden gem. Not a lot of people know about that area, but that's the area that I've called home for 5 years of my life.
Cal Poly, and you played soccer?
Yeah, I played
football.
Soccer. Football. And I had an ankle injury, and my ankle injury is actually what brought me to yoga, because I had this ankle injury, and a good friend of mine was like, you need to come with me to Bikram yoga. And I was like, Bikram yoga is for girls. Like, I don't need to do that. What are you talking about? We stretch before class. And then I really got into it, and it changed my whole perspective of not only how I could utilize my breath to heal my body, but also how important it was to really see my body as a vessel that actually needs my attention, and that I could, breathe into.
Take a deep breath here.
Let's all take a deep breath.
You did yoga this morning, right?
Yeah. I taught a class this morning.
You were teaching, right? That right before here. I do my morning yoga, so yes, I also have my thing. But anyways, okay. Always good to stop and breathe.
Yeah.
So it helped heal your ankle.
Yeah, it helped heal my ankle. And from there, my ball control on the field got better. My relationships got better. My grades got better. And I was just like, wow, like this yoga thing's actually working. It's not only helping me physically, but it's also helping me mentally. And it's also helping my relationships as well. And so I saw that as a really pivotal time in my life where I was, overworked. I was studying microbiology. I was in a fraternity.
You're in a fraternity.
Yeah, I was in a fraternity too. So it was like I was the commissary. I would cook for all these like big buff guys that were like the jocks of our school.
What'd you cook?
I cooked everything from
Caribbean.
I would cook like curry and rice and split peas every now and then. They loved like high protein, super rich,
lots of meat.
Yeah, lots of meat.
Yeah.
But like lean meat. So they were like
chicken, fish.
Yeah, chicken, fish,
cool.
and a lot of tilapia, that kind of stuff. And I'm cooking for 50 to 60 guys on a nightly basis. So we had.
Did they pay you for this?
Well, actually, I got
tuition.
Yeah, half off of my dues.
Amazing.
So allowed me to be able to be in the fraternity in a way that was a mutual exchange, which was really awesome as well.
And you enjoyed it.
I loved it. Yeah. I love serving. I'm a big server. I love being able to uplift people with the vibration of food, movement, music. Like those are really, I think, the things that bring people together.
Absolutely. Wow, that's great. I love learning new things about all my friends. Yeah. And then, so what brought you eventually to Costa Rica?
Pura vida. My first time coming to Costa Rica was actually from a great friend of mine named Amber Zuxwort, who actually...
Amber?
Yeah. You know Amber from Envision Festival.
Yeah.
So she and I were dating at one point in time, a long time ago, and she was leading these incredible raw vegan retreats and helping people detox from, heavy metals, and also helping women who were on birth control and all these different things. And basically, she wanted me to teach some yoga for one of her retreats, and she was doing them in Manuel Antonio. Brought me to Manuel Antonio. I was like completely blown away by the beauty of the space, and immediately I was like, wow, like I fell in love with Costa Rica. And I was like, this is a beautiful place that not only has this great resonance of kind people and the whole pura vida vibe and mentality of pure life, but the nature, like I was on a white sand beach in Manuel Antonio.
Manuel Antonio's got some nice beaches for sure.
Super gorgeous. So that was my first time coming here. And then I came like 2 years after in 2014 to come to Envision Festival for my first time.
2014 was your first Envision.
Yeah.
You taught there or just to
just to attend. Then the next year after that, I came as a volunteer. Then the next year after that, I started teaching. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You came twice before you even got involved.
Yeah.
And now you're like one of the well-known yoga teachers of Envision. You're a popular man. I've been to your classes. They're full, packed.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was camping behind the yoga stage. They put me behind the yoga stage, some artist camp. And I was like, I didn't even know you at that point. And I just heard your voice and it was like, it was like this happy, upbeat. I was like, what is this? Who's this guy? Like, what? This isn't a regular yoga teacher. No, it's true. It's like you bring a vibe, and I appreciate that because yoga should be fun and it should be
uplifting.
Yeah.
I really find that
you're good.
The most important thing that we can do is to bring people back to a space where they can find the joyous nature in their bodies. Like we're oftentimes so disconnected from how we feel. And so my goal is really to bring people back to the feeling that actually encourages the healing so that we can release tension and we can release stress and really come back to that sense of feeling uplifted in our bodies and joyous and free. Like that's the way that we're meant to be, is free within our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that's too trite to say, but I don't know. I always said aho, and I was recently told it's oversaid. And I'm like, I learned this from my Native American friends. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means I agree. I'm with it. Yes. It's like
namaste. Aho, ashe.
Praise God, whatever you want to call it.
Hallelujah. Come on.
Aho.
Come on. Let's get back to using those words that uplift us. Pura vida.
Pura vida, bro. On. Well, we got the pura vida. And you have you also do wellness consulting.
Yeah. I work with a number of different...
Teach yoga retreats as well?
Yeah. teach with all types of different yoga retreats. Not only retreat centers, but I also do private sessions for small groups as well. But I've been doing wellness consulting for different hotel groups and multi-location facilities and communities as well, to really help bring forth, great yoga programs so that they can outline how they wish to actually conduct their yoga retreats, the different types of facilities that they have, and also the facilitators. So connecting facilitators with retreat centers so that they actually bridge the gap of bringing in really incredible people that align with their values.
So basically, if someone's like, hey, we want to have a retreat center, or we want to or a hotel wants to include a wellness program or a yoga program, they'd contact you and you would help them basically design it and develop it.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, you got it.
I was like kind of not sure what a wellness consultant was, but that makes perfect sense.
Now you know.
I somehow thought it was like one-on-one private like consultations or something.
I do that as well.
Yeah.
Like I have, I've done my integrative nutrition, and I've also gone deep with vegan fitness, which is a great organization run by my great friend Nimai Delgado and Bianca.
Are you vegan?
I'm fully vegan. Been fully vegan now since I was 20. So
while you were in the fraternity?
Years. Yeah, I started while I was in the fraternity.
So you were vegan, but you were cooking up some tilapia and chicken.
You gotta do
guys?
what you gotta do. You gotta use your skills no matter where you are. And
For sure.
if it comes down to it, I haven't cooked fish or chicken in years, but if there's a special occasion,
you can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. I have the skills. I always say that I meet people where they are. My goal is not to push my beliefs on anyone.
Right.
I think that the number one way of changing anyone is through attractivism. I say that attractivism is the best form of activism, because you can attract someone into seeing that, oh, wow, that works for that person, and maybe that can work for me too. And really every single diet, every single belief system, every single practice is really what you make it. So, like how you eat is what you make it. I think that if we pray to our food and we have a deeper connection with our food, then we can really eat anything. I mean, there's people that live off of air, that live off of water. Have you
met breatharians?
Yes, I have.
I met a couple in my life too.
Yeah. And they're pretty incredible.
It's pretty amazing.
I met a couple when I was in India. I met a couple when I was in Austria.
Did you meet HRM, Hira Ratan Manek?
No,
this guy. I met him in Atlanta. He did a conference in Atlanta, and I did a couple things with him. But anyways, yeah, another interest.
It's possible.
He was like studied, apparently, like did 2 major university studies on him. One of them was 300-day no food, no water. The other one was 600 days no food, no water, monitored. I mean, they've studied this guy. They're like, oh, this guy, you can do this stuff.
Yep, it's real. The mind, it's all the power of the mind. I always tell people that, like, whatever your healthy mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve. And so we just got to tap back into the power of our mind. And I think that nowadays, especially, we're so distracted by our phones, so much happening on social media, so much happening in the world, that we forget about the beauty of the butterflies and the bees and how all of these animals around us operate on a very, very high frequency. And we are supposed to be the highest of intelligence and the highest of mental capacity. And we just got to tap into the power of our minds to be able to truly create the reality that we wish to live in.
Would you ever become a breatharian?
Possibly at some point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm at the point where I really feel the need that I've got to go deep into meditation and be in a space of quiet and solitude, I think that I probably would go breatharian, because then I wouldn't have to eat. Eating takes up a lot of time.
It does.
I eat 2 meals a day, and I'm like, I find that to be a lot of time. Like I find that if I
preparing the
eat
food
less, I love to cook food. I love to make a beautiful meal and eat it with friends. And I think that communal nature is really important.
Yeah,
because we're social beings.
Yeah, that was the hard part for me with like being, I've had all my various diets, the raw food diet, the fruitarian diet, like vegan, whatever. It's like you end up not being able to really connect with all, only within a certain community of people. And I like to connect with all kinds of people. So yeah, it's nice to have a little more flexibility. So there was this one time this breatharian went into a vegan restaurant, and when he sat down, the waiter came up and said, what can I take your order? And the breatharian just looked at him and said, "No thanks, I'm just here to enjoy the atmosphere."
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's energy. It's all energy, you know?
That was a joke, but anyway. Damn, I did it terribly. I was like, can I get Andrew on this?
I don't know where the punchline was. Did you guys hear a punchline?
I'm just here for the atmosphere.
I mean, the atmosphere
is... God, making me look bad here, Andrew.
It was a good one. It was a good one.
Okay. Let's talk chocolate.
Yeah.
You have a chocolate farm.
Yes.
In
San Vito.
So in San Vito how long have you owned that, and what was the inspiration?
I am the steward of the farm. Me and a couple of friends have put down money to be able to actually have the first right of refusal, which is a legal term for saying that we're still looking for the money to pay for the full farm, but we've put enough money down to have an agreement with the owner of the farm.
Okay.
So essentially, if there's any investors out there who are looking to buy a cacao farm with Andrew Seeley, let's make it happen. We got some magic.
I'm sure
we got financial numbers and such. So
I'm sure that's gonna happen.
It's happening. It's happening all right now. So I have a cacao farm that I'm stewarding, a 67-acre cacao farm in San Vito, and I've made some of the most incredible chocolate.
I had some the other day. It was very good.
Yes.
Really amazing chocolate.
Yes. We've gotten great reviews from a lot of really epic human beings that love chocolate.
You want some mate?
Dude, I love mate.
I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here chugging mate and not sharing it. Go ahead, drink it down. So yeah, your chocolate, and there was a chocolate brand that you partnered with that was actually marketing your chocolate already.
Yeah. They're called Theobroma.
Theobroma, right.
Theobroma here in Costa Rica, and they're two of the most incredible chocolatiers. They have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the taste and the profiles of the beans. And so they actually take certain beans from different farms all around Costa Rica, and they have like people literally like on a waiting list to make chocolate with, because their process is so on point, and their awareness of how to roast it, how long to actually have it in the stone grinder, like they are super on point. So they only choose the most incredible beans, and they loved our beans. So a good friend of mine actually introduced them to me, connected us really. And after connecting us, I was like, oh, like I would love to meet with them. And he's like, they only really meet with people that have like really good beans. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. Like, like whenever the time is right, let me know. And then he's like, oh, like they're interested in checking it out because they want to hear more about these heirloom beans, because we have an heirloom certification, which means that our actual pods are of a certain species that is of the heirloom type. They're very special beans. I'm serious. And so we took the beans to these chocolate makers. They smelled them and they were like, whoa, like these are really well fermented. They're incredible taste profiles. Like the notes are incredible. They cracked open some beans. He like tastes them. Paulo goes and he looks at me. He's like, these are really good beans. And I was like, okay, so you guys want to make some chocolate? He's like, yeah, we'll try our first batch of chocolate. Made the first batch of chocolate, and I tried the chocolate and I was like, whoa, like it tastes different than any other chocolate that I've tasted. There's like these notes of cherry with like this like aftertaste that's like very smooth and kind of like caramely. And I'd never really gotten into chocolate that deep, but since finding this farm and having this wonderful woman, Secret, who's the owner of the farm, like teach me a little bit about chocolate, and now having Paulo and his whole Theobroma crew teaching me about chocolate, like I have fallen in love with chocolate.
So I was curious, like you weren't raised on making chocolate, so you learned from the woman whose farm. And are you managing most of the processes?
Exactly.
Okay.
I've become now a chocolatier.
What are
a novice chocolatier?
What are some of the benefits of chocolate, since you have your holistic nutrition? Give it to us.
Yes. So,
I know you're gonna look out.
So Theobroma, which is the technical term for the species of cacao, which is the tree that makes the chocolate. So this wonderful pod not only has prebiotics, but it also has probiotics naturally occurring inside of the bean. The bean, when it's fermented, is actually one of the most high in iron, in potassium, magnesium. It has a ton of trace minerals and also a lot of incredible nutrients, phytonutrients, that's great for your gut, great for your microbiome. And it really helps with not only digestion, but also assimilation. So we're actually going to start putting some magical probiotics inside the chocolate.
Oh, adding probiotics.
Yep, which are going to help because there's naturally occurring prebiotics inside of the cacao mass. So the best kind of cacao that you can have is just straight up raw cacao. Or if you're having chocolate, anything 70% and above, so 70, 80, 85% is the way to go.
The dark chocolate.
Yep, and to make sure that it's not mass produced, so that it doesn't have any mold and so it doesn't have any cadmium. There's a lot of really just like what I would call large mass-produced cacao that has cadmium in it because they're using old school grinders that have just nasty materials in them. So you want to make sure that your chocolate is coming from a small batch.
Good grinder.
And really the best is from tree to bar, meaning that it's single source origin. So you're actually getting it from the farm that is making the chocolate, and thus you're having a higher grade, higher quality. And on top of that, it's probably a lot fresher, meaning that it's not sitting on a countertop flowering. And, you know, if you open up a chocolate bar and you see like that white stuff, that means that it's already floured, which means that it's not going to be nearly as fresh, and that the iron has actually...
Wait, say that again. If you open up a chocolate bar...
and it's white, you know, like if you have like it's supposed to be brown. It's supposed to be nice and what they call tempered.
Okay.
So like when you crack it open, it has like a nice little snap, and you can actually see there's like a shiny gloss to it. That means that it's well tempered. If you open up the chocolate bar and it's kind of like mealy and it's kind of kind of powdery and it's white, that means that it's actually floured, which means that not only has it lost a lot of its nutritional benefits, but also the main entheogen, which is the uplifting feeling of chocolate, theobromine and anandamide, have most likely been lost through that flowering process.
And flowering, you don't mean like flower as in like the flower of the tree.
No. I mean like flowering, like either it's actually become moldy, which means that the mold has actually sporulated within the chocolate,
right?
Or that it's actually oxidated,
right?
So humidity or oxygen has gotten into the packaging to thus deplete the chocolate of its natural nutrients.
I hate that. It's the worst when you like open up a chocolate bar and it's like that, man.
And you're like, ugh, like what is this? You know?
I wish I had told you to bring one of your chocolate bars so we could eat it right here, right now. We'll have some after.
Yeah, I'll give you a piece after.
We can can like do a little shot for the camera.
I got you. And the other great thing about chocolate, I just got to mention it because this is one of the most important things, is that it's known as the fruit of the gods. So the fruit of the gods and the food of the gods. The Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas all traded chocolate all the way up the Amazon basin to get all the way not only to Costa Rica, but through Nicaragua, Guatemala, even all the way up to Mexico. And it was used as the first currency.
Right.
And it's incredible because it has this naturally occurring heart-opening effect that is from the nitrous oxide that is naturally occurring in it.
There's nitrous oxide in it?
Yep. So it actually...
That's why we like it?
Exactly. It creates...
We're huffing nitrous every time we do
You're not
chocolate.
huffing it. It naturally occurs through the process of digestion.
I was kind of
increases
joking,
nitrous oxide in the bloodstream.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And nitrous oxide is laughing gas, for those of you who don't know.
Yep. And it also helps to increase brain cognition as well.
Amazing. And do you give tours of your farm or not? You're not so much doing that?
Not yet. I mean, I have given a few private tours of the farm, but that is the plan, is to have an actual wellness center so that people can come in and they can have an actual yoga experience and a chocolate making experience where they have the opportunity to see how chocolate is made. Because so many people eat chocolate. Chocolate is literally the world's favorite food. but they don't actually have a connection of where the chocolate comes from,
Right.
or even know that the chocolate comes from cacao,
Yeah.
which is a fruit that grows on a tree.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
But-
I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we live in communities where we can have cacao growing and
I
we can
know.
actually see it.
I do. I have a bunch of baby cacaos in pots right now that I sprouted.
That's the way.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost out of time. So you have a yoga teacher training coming up. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, just as much as I love cacao, I mean, really my first love is yoga, because it helps bring people back to their breath, and the breath is the key to life. And when we have the opportunity to really breathe with a deeper sense of presence, we can really create the passion and purpose that we wish to see in our world. And so I love teaching yoga, and I have a yoga teacher training coming up here in Costa Rica, which is my favorite place on the earth.
Where?
And it's at Kinkara.
Okay.
You ever been to Kinkara?
I have not been to Kinkara. That is where?
It's just north of like Peresaladon. It's a really beautiful property up in the mountains of Costa Rica. Super gorgeous. It's
I've
like
heard of
near some waterfalls, and yeah, it's got a great vibe.
Sounds like a beautiful place to be.
Yeah,
To have a yoga teacher training, and it's open to everyone.
It's open to anyone, all levels. Yeah. So this is really the first level of diving deeper into your practice. I always tell people that no matter if they're a yoga expert, or if they're just beginning their yoga practice and just want to dive deeper, or if there's someone who actually wants to actually become a teacher, this yoga practice and yoga training is for you. So ultimately, you don't have to have a background of, diving deep into yoga to come to a yoga teacher training. You could just want to deepen your own personal practice. Or if you're actually looking to become a teacher, then this is a definite way to get that understanding, that deep awareness, and most importantly, that embodiment of learning the practice, learning the postures, and learning the philosophy behind the practice as well.
Okay. All right. So where can people find you?
Find me at andrew7seeley.com, Andrew7seeley on Instagram. You can email me, andrew7seeley@gmail.com.
And that's Sealy.
You got it.
Andrew 7 Seeley.
Seal with a Y, because asking the right questions is the best way to get the right answers. It's true.
My bro, so great to have you. Thank you for making the time for us. I know you've all got to run, and it's been an honor.
Thank you,
I
man.
appreciate it, brother.
Much appreciated, bro.
We'll do some yoga here soon.
Yeah, I'll fly you in some acro.
Fly me. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrew 7 Seeley. Look him up. Go check out his yoga teacher training. This is La Vida Verde Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human. We release episodes every two. We're on location this week at the beautiful Casa de Brooks.
Yeah.
In La Ecovilla. We release episodes every Tuesday on YouTube. You can watch Andrew live on YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I want to say thank you to Ecoteas Yerba Mate. We've been chugging your mate. I have been chugging your mate.
Really good. It's really good stuff.
Want to say check out our Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde Podcast. Give a little donation, get a little bit of extra content, support our podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR, on Facebook at Finca Vida Verde, and that's it. Oh, fincavidaverde.com. Another lovely day. Thank you, Andrew.
Blessings.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you all for tuning in.